Hello everyone, I am Alisha Lakhani and today we are gonna study scalp. So, the definition of the scalp is as the soft tissues covering the skull vault. So here when we see the diagram, this is the skull vault, as you know. So this is known as the scalp, okay. So what is the extent of the scalp? So here when we see anteriorly, it is up to the eyebrows, which is also known as superciliary arches. So here in the diagram I have labeled, this is the superciliary arch. So this is a diagram where you can see the anterior portion of the scalp is up to the eyebrows, that is the superciliary arches. So now when we see posteriorly, it is up to the superior knuckle line. So superior knuckle line, as you can see in the diagram, what is the superior knuckle line? It is behind the ears, right? Now laterally it is the superior temporal line, okay. So laterally it is the superior temporal line, right? So up to here we are completed. So this is the superciliary arch, the superior knuckle line and the superior temporal line. Now when we talk of the layers of the scalp, there are 5 layers of the scalp, and the mnemonic for remembering this 5 layers is SCALP, simply SCALP, right? So here the first one is the skin. So from S we have skin. The second one is connective tissue, which is the superficial fascia. So from C here we have connective tissue that makes up the superficial fascia. So from A we have the aponeurosis, the epicranial aponeurosis, and here the spelling for GAELA. So here the spelling is wrong, I hope you'll correct it. Galea aponeurotica with occipitofrontalis muscle that makes the deep fascia. We'll discuss in detail each part. Number 4 is from L, that is the loose areolar tissue, and number 5, that is the pericranium. Now let's talk each of the layer of the scalp in detail. Number 1, that is skin. So the skin is hairy and is adherent to the epicranial aponeurosis by the superficial fascia. So the skin is attached to the epicranial aponeurosis by the superficial fascia. So indirectly skin is attached to the aponeurosis via the superficial fascia. To the number 1 layer is attached to the number 3 layer via the number 2 layer. I hope you getting it. So now the skin has many sweat glands and sebaceous glands. So here we are done with the skin. Now we are coming up to the next layer, that is the subcutaneous or superficial fascia. So when we talk of superficial fascia, it is a dense fibrous type of fascia, right? It contains blood vessels and nerves, and proper medium is provided for passage of blood vessels and nerves. So basically the superficial fascia contains the blood vessels and nerves, and it is dense fibrous type. Now here let us discuss the clinicals of the superficial fascia. So when the walls of the vessels are adherent to the fibrous network, so when these blood vessels are torn out during the injury, they are unable to retract and cause the profuse bleeding. So bleeding can be stopped by pressure, by pressing the underlying bone. So here the superficial fascia, as we know, that contains the blood vessels and nerves. So now when the wall of the vessels are adherent to the fibrous network, that is the superficial fascia. So when the blood vessels are torn out or they are cut during any kind of injury, so they are unable to retract back, and it causes profuse bleeding, and this bleeding cannot be stopped by pressing the underlying bone. So this is a clinical feature that it causes bleeding when the blood vessels are torn, there is a profuse bleeding. So this is a clinical portion of the superficial fascia. Now coming on to the aponeurosis, this is a very important part which will also help you guys in the later sections of the head and neck. So the aponeurosis is formed by the occipitofrontalis muscle and its aponeurosis, that is the epicranial aponeurosis and the galea aponeurotica. So it is the greater part of this is the epicranial aponeurosis, but the occipitofrontalis makes a minor portion of the aponeurosis. That is the 3rd layer. Now when we talk of occipitofrontalis muscle, there are 4 bellies in the occipitofrontalis muscle. The 2 bellies are for frontal and 2 bellies are for occipital bellies. The frontal are long and wide, the occipital is short and separate. Now both the bellies are inserted into the epicranial aponeurosis. And when we talk of occipital and frontal belly, let's see how they are originated. So the occipital belly rises from the lateral two-thirds of the superior knuckle line, which is supplied by the posterior auricular branch of the facial nerve, whereas the frontal belly arises from the skin of the upper eyelid, forehead, mingling with the orbicularis oris and the corrugator supercilii, and it is supplied by the temporal branch of facial nerve. So here we have to learn the origin and the nerve supply. So when you talk of occipital belly, it is originated from the lateral two-thirds part of the superior knuckle line, and it is supplied by the nerve, that is the facial nerve, the posterior auricular branch of the facial nerve. When you talk the frontal belly, it is arising from the forehead and the eyelids, mingling with the orbicularis oris muscle, that is the eye muscle, and corrugator supercilii, that is also a muscle, and it is supplied with the temporal branch of the facial nerve. So this ends our aponeurosis. We have to keep in mind about the orbicularis oris and the corrugator supercilii muscles in the frontal belly, and we have to remember all the bellies and the occipitofrontalis muscle in general. Now the clinical portion of aponeurosis is that the aponeurosis is under the tension in anterior posterior direction by tone of occipitofrontalis muscle. So wounds of the scalp do not gap unless it is cut transversely. Now here when you see the diagram, let me clear all the parts so I can say this very easily. So now here when you see the diagram, okay, here the diagram is depicting that the upper portion is the frontal bellies, the two are the occipitalis or occipital bellies. So now when I make a cut like that, that is the longitudinal cut, it won't be shown because this are holding the muscle, the bellies are holding, the muscles are holding the scalp in position, right? So when I make a cut here, it is stretching out here and this is stretching out here. So it won't make any difference. But when I cut it transversely, if it is stretching here and it is stretching here, so you can clearly see that gap. So here when I make a cut, I am stretching out in this direction and here I am stretching out in this direction. So clearly you can see the gap. So that is what here it is trying to say. Let us look again into the clinical portion and read it again. The aponeurosis is under the tension of the anterior posterior direction by the tone of the occipitofrontalis muscle. So wound of the scalp do not gap unless the aponeurosis is cut transversely. So I hope this is clear now. The occipitofrontalis muscle raises the eyebrow and causes horizontal wrinkles in the skin of the forehead. So the main feature of the occipitofrontalis muscle helps to raise the eyebrows. When you are raising the eyebrows, the muscles that are helping is occipitofrontalis muscle, the occipital and frontalis muscle, and it also causes horizontal wrinkles in the skin. Now coming on to the epicranial neurosis, we can see the epicranial neurosis is freely movable on the pericranium, that is the fifth layer. This is not much important, but it is just for you guys to remember. Like, it is not much importance. If you don't even remember it, if you don't write it in exams, this is perfectly fine. Now anteriorly it receives insertion of frontalis and posteriorly it receives the insertion of occipitalis, and also it is attached to the external occipital protuberance and the superior knuckle line, right? Now it is very important to note that the first three layers, that is the skin, connective tissue, the superficial fascia and the aponeurosis, are together called as the surgical layers of the scalp or the scalp proper. Means all the three layers are the true scalp, other two are the portion of the scalps. Now the fourth one, that is the loose areolar tissue. The loose areolar tissue extends anteriorly into eyelids as frontalis muscle has no bony attachment. So anteriorly the loose connective tissue is into the eyelids, extends into the eyelids, and the posteriorly it extends into the highest and the superior knuckle lines. Now it contains the pus and the blood. It gives passes to the emissary veins which connect extracranial vein into the intracranial venous sinus. So this is for you guys to remember. There is no particular explanation, but here you can see the emissary vein. Now emissary vein connects the extracranial, that is the second layer, extracranial second layer, that is the connective tissue layer, to the intracranial venous sinus. Intracranial venous sinus, right? I hope you're getting it. Intracranial venous sinus is present in the loose areolar tissue layer, that is the fourth layer. It is also known as the dorsal venous sinus, DVS. Now the pericardium, pericranium. Now the pericranium is loosely attached to surface of the bones but firmly attached to their sutures, where sutural ligaments bind the pericranium to the endocranium, that is the periosteum covering inner aspect of the skull bones. So here ends our the first part of the skull. In the next lecture we are going to discuss about the arterial and venous supply, which is the very important part of the skull, which is usually asked in the university exams. Basically the introduction and the layers of the scalp are only asked in MCQs, but the arterial supply and venous supply are asked in short note questions and long questions, so that is very important. So do watch that, the second part. And here when you are asked the layers of the skin, if in case your university asks you about the layers of the skin, this is the diagram which is very important for you. This one, you have to draw this diagram which will take the eyes away, like examiner will be attracted to such kind of diagrams. You can use colors if your university allows you. If not, you can definitely use black, blue, and the histology pencils, that is pink and purple. So that's all for now. Thank you for watching. If you like our video, please like, comment, subscribe to our channel, and also make sure you comment your doubts or queries into the comment box, and I'll definitely take care of your doubts. Thank you so much.